Manx Radio's Update with Andy Wint.
Faster my good evening, it's 5:30. This is Update for Thursday, 20th of June 2024 from Manx Radio. 30 minutes looking at the latest news on the island, and background to that news we've got sport and business and travel updates and the newsmakers in person this evening. Be prepared to pay for the healthcare you want, says the Minister. Ramsey commissioners approve merging voting wards. Sewage in Laxey Bay is disrespectful. Operation Nightjar nabs 9, and it's the Parish Walk this Saturday.
Man Benham for all your business and legal needs.
First of all, at 29 minutes ahead of 6 o'clock, the Update News headlines. Faster my Dave Moore.
Faster my 9 people caught supplying cocaine to undercover police officers on the Isle of Man have appeared at the Court of General jail delivery today. 5 defendants received immediate custodial sentences totalling more than 13 years. 4 were handed suspended sentences. Braddon Commissioners is hoping to buy a piece of land from the Department of Health and Social Care to use as access to the Roundhouse. Both parties have been in dispute over the current road and who has permission to use it. Plans for a new hotel to be built next to the Isle of Man ferry terminal in Liverpool have been unveiled. Property firm Peel Waters is behind the project. Elsewhere, the Conservatives' campaign's director has taken a leave of absence over allegations he and his wife, the Tory candidate Laura Saunders, bet on the date of the general election. Minister Michael Gove says it's unacceptable behaviour and an investigation led by the Gambling Commission is underway. Fake batches of an ingredient in diabetes medication and weight loss drugs could have been circulating in the UK in October, prompting an alert from the World Health Organization. There are also reports of detections in Brazil and the United States. And in their Euro 2024 game at the moment, England are currently leading Denmark by 1-0. Those are the Update News headlines. The next bulletin is at 6.
Secure tomorrow today with Man Benham's private client team. Manx Radio weather with Manx Glass and Glazing.
Goromaya, thank you, Dave. From the Ronaldsway Met Office, no wind warning in operation for the North Irish Sea, but there is a strong wind warning for tomorrow. State of sea is smooth or slight. And the weather this evening, dry with hazy sunshine and a light southerly breeze. It'll be clear at first this evening, then cloudy overnight, minimum temperature 10 degrees. For Chehenya, a dry, cloudy morning and a fresh, locally strong south-southwesterly. Some rain on the way after lunch, up to 15 degrees. It'll dry up late evening as the wind turns to the west and eases overnight, minimum temperature 11. And for Saturday, Josan, dry with sunny spells and a light westerly, daylight maximum 16. The tide turned about 10 minutes ago. So we're back up to the top later on at 21 minutes past 11. Between now and then, sunsets at 5 to 10. Of course, it is the summer solstice overnight tonight. Sunrise in the morning is at 4:45. Low water 8 minutes before 6. And high tide at 9 minutes to midday.
Manx Glass and Glazing are proud to be an approved contractor with Construction Isle of Man. Call the team on 674 573 or visit the showroom on the Snugborough Trading Estate.
The Health Minister says we have to be prepared to pay for whatever standard of healthcare we want. It's after an £18 million scheme to reduce waiting times for services has started to pay off. But Laurie Hooper, MHK, says improvements won't happen overnight.
The R&R report, the Restoration and Recovery report, shows that in this case, actually, we said what we were going to set out to try and achieve, which was to reduce the waiting times and waiting lists in these 3 specialties: ophthalmology, orthopaedics and some in general surgery. And to say, not only do we want to reduce those, we want to make sure they stay down. And it seems to me, based on the data we've got and the report that we've published, it shows actually we've achieved that. And I think that's the key message for me. This wasn't just some let's take some money and throw it at the health service kind of solution. This was around how do we embed better practice, how do we make sure that things are better for everybody. And like I said at summing up in the debate, this money hasn't just helped those 3,000 people that have had surgeries, it's helped every single person who's gone through one of those pathways since this scheme closed, because they've all gone through a better scheme, they've all gone through a better pathway, they've all people had better treatment as a result. So ultimately, I think this is a really good news story. I think the team down at MaxCare, working with their partners in Synaptic and all the staff involved, have been absolutely fantastic. The feedback that I've had was reflected by a number of members on the floor as well. Everyone was saying, actually, everything we've heard is positive about this. It's gone really, really well. And so we're now working on what we're calling R&R 3, which should be the final phase of this, which should cover basically all the other things we haven't yet touched. And if we can apply the same process, the same logic to everything else, what you should then see is much more sustainable waiting list across the board at MaxCare, rather than just these three areas that we focused on. The health service we want has to match the health service we're willing to fund. And ultimately, all these are choices. We could decide to have, like in the UK, an 18-week referral to treatment. That's what we're working towards here. If we want that tomorrow, it'll cost us a lot of money to change where we're at to get us there tomorrow. If we're happy to say, let's get there incrementally, let's get there on a gradual basis, it will be done, but it will probably cost us a lot less money. The flip side, obviously, is then you have people waiting in the intervening period for longer periods of time.
9 people involved in supplying cocaine to undercover police officers on the Isle of Man have been sentenced today. They were all arrested at the start of the year as part of Operation Nightjar. This report from Douglas Courthouse.
At the Court of General Jail Delivery, 5 defendants received immediate custodial sentences totalling more than 13 years. 4 were handed suspended prison terms. Before sentencing them, Deemster Graham Cook said the operation and subsequent sentences should be a deterrent to future street dealers. Operation Nightjar targeted the supply of Class A drugs in the nighttime economy. Undercover officers targeted the defendants predominantly in or around licensed premises between July and November last year. Posing as people who wanted to buy cocaine or sniff, the covert officers sought out people who'd supply them with it, in many cases using social media, including Snapchat and WhatsApp. In some cases, they repeatedly approached defendants, with the prosecutor telling the court it was a tactical move to try and target them on 3 occasions. As a result of the operation and the covert evidence gathered from it, the defendants, 16 men and 2 women, were charged with offences under the Misuse of Drugs Act. Today, Caleb Langton, Carl Cameron, Thomas Ref Butler, Kieran Bratty and Andrew Hay were jailed. Leighton Hyam, Matthew Richards, Megan Hurst and Liam Patton were given suspended sentences. The joint sentencing exercise of the defendants involved in Operation Nightjar is believed to be the largest held at the Isle of Man Courts of Justice. 7 other defendants are due to be sentenced tomorrow. You can find the full details of all of the sentences at manxradio.com.
The only radio station that's Manx, and we're proud of it. Celebrating 60 years, this is Manx Radio.
A motion at last night's Ramsey Commissioners' meeting to merge voting wards into one has been passed. Commissioner Finla Williams says the next step is for the Department of Infrastructure to support it.
Quite pleased by that. It's something that I've tried before. There's been reticence before. Fortunately, it was with this board, so I don't think it was reticence from the people. It was reticence on being new. So I'm glad I stuck to my guns and brought it forward again towards the end of the board when they can see the benefits of it. There's currently 2 wards. Ramsey's a 2-ward system, which means if someone stands in a vacancy, so North Ward, for example, means that only the people north of the Litany River, for some bizarre reason, would be allowed to vote in that. Likewise, if someone stood in the South Ward, only people south of the Litany River are allowed to vote, and it just seems a bit backwards to me that someone that ultimately serves the entire populace of the town, only in North Ward slightly more than half the population, and South Ward less than half the population get to vote for it. And at the moment, there's nowhere left to develop south, it's all north, so that disparity is only going to grow. I mean, you'd like to think that us being the local representatives, right into the legislating authority as the local representatives, saying what we believe is best for the local people would be enough.
An Onchan MHK has criticised a new carer strategy, labelling the £96,000 allocated to tackling challenges faced by those in a caring role as disingenuous. It's hoped the money will enable government to ramp up awareness campaigns, improve access to information and train healthcare professionals. In an emotional speech, Julie Edge said the government can do better.
Members have talked about carers wanting recognition. I don't think I've ever met a carer that wants recognition. What they want is help and support from this government. And is there any? Very, very little. I might be. I'm fortunate, but some people may say it's unfortunate. But I'm fortunate to have seen both ends of where there is no support or respite for individuals. I have an autistic, non-verbal granddaughter that's broken without support up until very recently, and I applaud Crossroads for what they have achieved and what for PSAC have achieved in getting support for an individual family that was broken. I have elderly parents. I've cared for my mum up until a month or so ago, full-time at home with a full-time job in here as a minister. I've witnessed what support is out there. And the first question you ever get asked when you approach any government services, what money have they got? When you reply and say, my mum was one of the people that survived paying just a married women's stamp of 100 and gets a pension of £145 a week. But oh no, all our pensioners are very wealthy, honourable members, aren't they? £145 a week. Oh, but she's got a small amount of savings. Because even when my dad went into care last year, they took their money and split it in half like a divorced couple. That's what our government does to our people.
A Manxman who writes a wildlife diary for the UK Guardian newspapers described the continuing lack of a sewage treatment plant in Laxey as disrespectful to nature and to the local population. Manx Utilities says it's prioritising the completion of a new sewage works, while David Bellamy wanted to sing the praises of the Bay. He said he couldn't be completely positive.
So I write a regular column in the Guardian to celebrate Manx natural history, and this is the first time I've delved into our marine environment, and I set out to write a really positive article about Laxey Bay. It's a place that I feel very strongly about. However, when I was writing it, it is difficult to be completely positive when we have unfiltered, untreated sewage going in two different places into that bay.
Speaking as a landlubber, the wildlife you've described seems to be flourishing. May that be because of the stuff that's been pumped in? Because creatures have some strange eating habits.
So there's no doubt that raw sewage will benefit some wildlife. Certainly we see that the gulls will like that, even mallard do appear to like it in Laxey Bay, and I'm sure underwater, the area we can't easily see, that fish and other marine organisms are enjoying that, but it doesn't mean it's right.
Is it indicative of an attitude? Is that what you're saying? Of being able of pushing this stuff still out and not doing something about it?
Well, I ended the article by questioning when will we finally give the natural world the respect it deserves, and I don't think we are respecting Laxey Bay and other places to the full extent that they warrant, especially because it is a highly protected marine nature reserve, so it's a bit of a contradiction here. But also what's going on in Laxey is disrespectful to the people who enjoy that beach, to the children and adults and dogs that swim there. It's disrespectful to the ratepayers who are actually paying for a sewage service which isn't being delivered. And of course, it's disrespectful to the natural world, which doesn't have a voice.
Manx Radio Business Briefing.
At 16 minutes before 6, NatWest is to buy the main banking business of Sainsbury's as the supermarket chain withdraws from the sector to focus on food. Under the deal, NatWest will take on the credit cards, loans and savings accounts of Sainsbury's Bank. However, it's not buying the Sainsbury's Bank brand or its cash machines, insurance or travel money business. Customers will see no immediate change as a result of the deal, Sainsbury's said, and don't need to take any action. For a full daily market report, go to ramseycrookall.com. Trouble at Aer Lingus as pilots have announced an indefinite industrial action from next Wednesday, 26th of June, due to a dispute over pay. The Irish Airline Pilots Association said the work to rule action will mean pilots would not work any overtime or carry out any other out-of-hours duties requested by management, including any changes to established rosters. Pilots are demanding a pay increase of 24%, which they say is in line with inflation since their last raise 5 years ago. They say the airlines increased profits by 400% in that time. Pilots rejected an increased offer of 9.25%. Aer Lingus has said the work to rule action will cause significant disruption to customers, including flight cancellations. 40,000 passengers travel daily with Aer Lingus, and the Dublin to London Heathrow flight operated by Aer Lingus and BA is Europe's busiest route.
The Stock Market Report. brought to you by Ramsey Cooils.
And the numbers, the FTSE 100 closed 0.8%, up 8,272. The DAX in Frankfurt closed up almost a single percentage point at 18,239. A short time ago in New York City, the Dow Jones Industrial up 0.5% at 38,921. The Nasdaq Tech Stocks Index fractionally down 0.05%, 17,854. In Chicago, the S&P 500 up 0.06%, 5,490. In the exchange markets, the British pound sterling trading at $1 26 cents, €1 18 cents, and in commodities, gold is at $2,351 per troy ounce, and a barrel of Brent crude at $85.42.
I'm running late again. Do you know where I put my car keys?
In the fridge.
Where's my phone?
Under the dog basket.
Bye.
You haven't forgotten that we're seeing Ramsey Cooils later?
Oh, no, of course not. 5 p.m, is it?
2:45.
I'll be there.
Life is busy. That's why Ramsey Cooils team takes time to help you make a mindful investment decision, considering all the options, giving you full control of your financial future. Less stress, more assurance.
Forgot to put my shoes on.
See how we can make your money work for you. Call 717171 or visit ramseycooils.com. Licensed and regulated by the Isle of Man Financial Services Authority.
Politicians have probed figures in the Department for Enterprise's annual plan after a Manx Radio interview queried the accuracy of some of its claims. The Enterprise Minister, Tim Johnston MHK, refuted suggestions the data was false after questions were raised.
One related to the number of views on the Business Agency's Love Manx campaign, which I've been assured can absolutely be validated as to every single view across multiple channels and campaigns, something that someone outside that campaign would not necessarily be able to see. The other related to the overall estimated PR reach of the Visit Agency's media coverage across over 400 publications and articles throughout the year. On this one, the agency was given an estimate by its external PR partner of the opportunities to see, which is the potential reach of the individual media outlets, which includes global news channels, UK national press and national publications, as well as regional and specialist publications. To be clear, this does not mean that anywhere near that number saw it, and I don't think we would ever suggest that. It is a standard term used across the advertising and marketing world, and in this case came from an external partner using an industry platform.
Just picking up on one of those figures, the Visit Isle of Man claim was that it reached a PR reach of 5.8 billion. According to Forbes, there are 5.35 billion users worldwide of the internet, or around 66% of the world's population. Does the Minister feel that the caveat that he's described this morning should have been included?
I accept the point that the Honourable Member is making. Like I say, these are opportunities to see. They are standard metrics used in marketing. But I recognise that it's created some questioning, and I understand that. And I think going forward, we're happy to use those figures and look internally in how we assess and plan forward. But we'll ensure that we do not use that figure publicly in the future.
Manx Radio Sport.
Faster My Sports Editor Rob Pritchard.
Faster My, good evening. Starting with rugby, and former Ireland resident Bevan Rodd is set to start for England in their latest test match this weekend. The rugby union star and former Buchan School student is named in the starting 15 to face Japan in Tokyo on Saturday at 6:50 a.m. UK time. He's one of 3 Cell Sharks competitors included in the 23-man setup. He'll be joined by teammates Tom Roebuck and Tom Curry, who are named as substitutes. And that's not the only former Manx player set to compete on the international stage this summer. Patrice Bell, whose previous clubs include Southern Nomads and Castle Rushen High School, has been selected to represent Ireland at the World Rugby Under-20 Championship in South Africa. The now Sale Sharks Academy graduate is in the 30-strong squad for the tournament, which will run between Saturday the 29th of June and Friday the 19th of July. Ireland's first game will be against Italy at the DHL Stadium in Cape Town on the opening day. Tennis, and Billy Harris's good recent form has continued today as he's progressed to the 3rd round of the Cinch Championships at the Queen's Club. The Isle of Man pro player has beaten French qualifier Giovanni Mpeci-Pericard in straight sets, 6-4, 7-5, in 1 hour 10 minutes on centre court this afternoon. Yesterday it was confirmed the former Albany Lawn and Castletown Lawn competitor has already received a wildcard entry for this year's Wimbledon tournament at the start of July. And finally, in football, FC Isle of Man's positive reputation on and off the pitch across last season has earned the club a league award. The Ravens have been made the recipients of the NWCFL Premier Division Respect Award for the 2023-24 campaign. The accolade is decided through votes from other clubs after each match and takes into account
things such as player discipline, treatment of opponents during visits and overall conduct. Accepting the honour at the NWCFL annual general meeting in Blackpool on Saturday, FC Isle of Man Vice Chairman and Director of Football Lee Dixon says all involved with the club have created an environment that epitomises the spirit of the island.
Manx Radio Travel, driven by Quayside Tyres and Service Centre.
Motor vessel Manxman just going slow astern onto the Linkspan right now. Next inbound at Ronaldsway is the 7:25 EasyJet from London Gatwick. Well, it won't be 7:25, more like 8:05 they reckon. Before that, the 5:08 Loganair from Liverpool returning patient transfer showing on time. And then it's the 10:09 Loganair from London City on time. Outbound 6 o'clock Loganair to Liverpool. The 5:08 EasyJet to Gatwick's going to be late going back, probably about 25 to 9 on the roads. East Baldwin Road's closed for culvert replacement work near Peel. Phase closures on the Ballabooey Road for water main work. Some cable laying still at Douglas Road corner in Kirkmichael with lights associated, and lights on Ramsey Road, Laxey at the Menorca Hill junction for 3 separate phases of drainage work. In Colby, still got those phase closures on Ballakill Ferrick for water main work, phase closures on the Starvey Road for the water main work too as well, and temporary lights at the bottom of the Ballamoda near Silverdale for resurfacing. Lights on the main road Ballasalla by the new housing estate for water main connection work, and lights in Douglas at Alexander Drive at the Devonshire Road Albany Road junction for gas main work, and closures in phases at Devonshire Road and Devonshire Crescent. Hillside Avenue still closed through to Circular Road, and Switzerland Road's got some closures till November for building work, and still those temporary lights on Vicarage Road at Stevenson Way roundabout for water main replacement in Farm Hill. In Tremode, temporary lights at the bottom end of Johnny Watterson's Lane for that new Puffin crossing.
Ask how you can spread the cost interest-free at
Quayside. This Saturday, we'll see hundreds of people across the Isle of Man take on this year's Parish Walk. Emergency medicine consultant Dr. Gareth Davis has this advice for the around 1,200 people who'll be setting off from the NSC in less than 48 hours' time.
It's an iconic event, and to emphasise the need for preparation, the need for good footwear and clothing, and to use those hydration stations. It's really, really important that people look after themselves. As Ray says, it is a mental challenge, it is a challenge, but when you're getting to the point that you actually have to take regular painkillers to get to the end, that's your body telling you something. And we're just very keen to highlight the issue of dehydration and taking, in particular, non-steroidal analgesics, painkillers such as ibuprofen, and taking them regularly throughout the event is something that we really would discourage. There's a very nasty combination of if you don't look after your hydration and you become dehydrated, those particular tablets don't make your kidneys very happy. They're not necessarily very good for kidneys, so when you get dehydration and you're taking those tablets, you can get to a place where they're really knocked off their perch and you can become quite unwell. So we'd just encourage people, think about that hydration, and think if you need to be taking painkillers all the way through the event, your body's trying to tell you something, which is maybe it's time to give up and think about your preparation for next year.
This is the most listened to Isle of Man news source, and Manx Radio's Update is the Isle of Man's most downloaded news podcast.
A Manx agricultural community is celebrating after dairy farming duo Rob and David Cooils of Ballagawne Farm, Ballabeg, scooped a major international award for their outstanding commitment to conservation within a commercial business. The prestigious Silver Lapwing Awards promoted by the Farming and Wildlife Advisory Group. First from David Cooils, then local FWAG Chairman Paul Fletcher.
Firstly, we won the local award, which is the FWAG award called the Chuff Award. FWAG's organised by Paul and Hilary Fletcher. Paul and Hilary put a lot of work into getting us put forward to the Silver Lapwing Award. I think we're the first entry ever from the Isle of Man in the 45 years of the Silver Lapwing Award. And then the judges came over to see us a few weeks ago, showed them round. We were a bit nervous because that morning it had been a really misty, wet sort of morning, like most mornings have been lately. The sun come out and cleared up and give us a couple of hours of good weather to show them round.
It's an absolute, it's something that will never be matched. You know, that they are the first Manx farm business to win this award. hopefully in the future there'll be others. But at the end of the day, they're the first for the Isle of Man, and that's something the Isle of Man as a nation can be duly proud of. But it's yes, a feather in their cap, very much. But it's we also say though, Simon, that it's testament to good practices being going on Manx farms for generations. We're caretakers of the Manx countryside, the areas of land for our 70 years and 10 whilst we're on the earth. But when we take over a holding, we take over management, grazing, cropping of fields. We're taking over something that generations before us and generations after us will follow on with.
That's it for Update Tonight, compiled from the resources of Manx Radio's news department. Thanks to newsreader Dave Moore, producer Amy Griffiths. After the news at 6, Journey to a Dream with Beth Espy. Simon Clark's Greatest Hits at 6:30. Morris Powell with a little light music at 9 tonight. An Update returns Friday evening at 5:30.
WI